Greetings. This is Arvat McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens. As a very young person, I always felt that I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, having to make grown-up decisions in order to survive a life marked with physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. While my face was smiling on the outside, on the inside, I always secretly cried and felt miserable. However, over the years, I learned some gems that helped to turn my life around. I now get to live the life of my dreams, filled with love, travel, and wonderment. And I am absolutely passionate about sharing what I have learned with you. If you want to live your best life, tune in each week as I, along with some amazing guests, share these life-changing gems with you. Inspired to be more, do more, have more. Greetings and welcome to today's show. Today's topic is why settle for less. Today I have a special guest joining me. Her name is Marie Hyppolite, and she's a licensed clinical social worker. Now, lately we've been having guests come on, talk about a variety of topics, giving us this wonderful information. But I really miss the days when we could to just chat. And so occasionally I would like to have a guest host on, and today Marie is our guest host. Marie, other than being a licensed clinical social worker, she is also serves in the role of being my best friend. We've been best friends for well over 20 years. And I'm just delighted to have you on the show today, Marie.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for coming. So the topic, why settle for less, I think that's actually a good topic for us because that's something that we have in common and we've had in common for a long time in terms of being kind of used to just taking the short end of the stick, so to speak.
Okay. You mean like when you used to call me sucker? Or Lollipop?
Yeah. So I actually used to call Marie Lollipop, but really it started off, I was calling us both.
Mm-hmm.
I called us suckers. And so because we always would take the short end of the stick, like whatever was going on, it's almost like we volunteered to get the least amount. And so upon realizing that, and you know, a lot of times friends are your greatest reflections. And so I think seeing it in you makes me see it in myself. And so I used to call us suckers. And then over the years, I kind of morphed it into Lollipop. So anytime I say Lollipop, she knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, so we often accept the short end of the stick, volunteer to get the least. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't know. Because at the time, I think that's not originally how I saw it. And it's not until later when you're looking and you're saying, I could have had that. Wait, why did I do that? Why did I choose that? And started reflecting more on why.
Mm-hmm.
Then the issue becomes, well, did I think that maybe I didn't deserve it or that I wasn't worthy of having that? And so I just took what I thought I should have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the same with me. I think that my conscious mind was thinking, well, I don't need these things, let someone else have it. I'm used to not having, so why deprive someone else? I'll just go ahead and not have it as well. And then, you know, like you say, after giving it more thought and just realizing that, well, dang, why do I always volunteer? I'm volunteering to get less.
Right. And then what do you do with that after?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're always volunteering to get less, that's what people expect. And how do you stop?
Right. Yeah. So you have any ideas on how to change it, or maybe things that you've been working on put yourself in a position where you are honoring yourself?
I mean, I know that things started to change when I became more intentional about it. Asking myself, okay, is this what you want or is that what you want? And making a choice. And from making a choice, liking the choice, and not looking at it as, oh, I got suckered into that. Here I go again. And if, like at work, if there's a shift open and nobody wants to do it because everyone's tired and everyone has worked, well, I'm tired and I've worked too. So, do I really want to take that shift? Or am I just taking it because nobody else wants it?
And so how did you negotiate that for yourself?
How did I? I would say when I began to question worth, am I choosing this because I don't feel like I'm worthy of the other? So, and after, from hearing so long that I wasn't worthy of a lot of things, I had to learn how to accept the fact that I was worthy of all those things that I didn't. So once I began to question, okay, so why are you making this choice? How do you feel? How does that feel to you? Does it feel like yucky to make that choice, or you're feeling like, okay, this is good for me, I can do this? Then that's how I did it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Just really taking the time to understand, because a lot of times, if you're not conscious of it, you can make these choices but thinking you're doing it because you're a good person. And there's nothing wrong with volunteering to take the short end of the stick, so to speak, if you're doing it from a place of giving and love and that type of thing, versus doing it from a place of, I don't think I'm worth it, so just give me nothing.
Right, and then also knowing sometimes you might make a sacrifice, and that's okay to make a sacrifice, but not if you're feeling terrible about making a sacrifice. And the other, going back to being worthy and self-worth, I would look at other people and feel like they were worthy. So why wasn't I?
Exactly.
And once I began to, question that, okay, so that goes back to this. These were the things that you believed because whatever was spoken to you, and so you accepted it. How do you change that? And beginning to change that by becoming more intentional and asking myself and questioning myself and always ask, so how does this feel to you? How does that feel in your body? Are you feeling like, ugh? Or are you feeling like, okay?
And kind of the same for me, in terms of just being aware that I'm feeling unworthy. And but yet and still, if someone else were presenting in the same way that I was presenting, I wouldn't think that they were unworthy. So why do I think that I'm unworthy? And so one of the questions that I always say is important that we're clear on in our mind is how do you answer the question, who am I? And I feel like whatever your answer is going to determine everything in your life. And so your answer to who am I, the point is that we need to keep elevating how we answer that question, because every decision we make is going to be based on how we answer that question for ourselves. And so just being aware that I was feeling unworthy in my life wasn't really enough for me to change that. But I guess in the whole scheme of things, and then just realizing that, I'm connected to the source of all that is. So how can I be unworthy, and what's good enough for one person is good enough for me? And just really when I answer the question, who am I, to try to keep it at the forefront of my mind that I'm connected to the source of all that is. That's my answer. And when I'm answering from that place, then I can't help but feel worthy of everything.
Yes. I was when you were speaking. What came to mind was this TED Talk that we had to watch for one of my trauma trainings, and it was on infinite worth and how every person, any person you meet, every person is infinitely worthy. Period. That's it. It was Kent Hoffman, and one of the things that he said was he spent 5 years in graduate school, but it took him 5 seconds to learn that. It was a professor who started off the class by saying that. And once he said that, it clicked for him. And he began to look at people and to see their worth. That's it. Every person, no matter where he went, whether he was working with the homeless or he was working with somebody who, could pay for his services as a therapist. Everyone. There's no one that isn't. And once that clicks, it's interesting because the world, everything changes. How you feel changes, how you look at things, how you look at what people are doing changes. That judgment kind of, it just falls away. Just that whole, and I was talking to somebody about that today, where, in society, if you look a certain way, then a lot of times people feel like you're worth more because of your outer appearance. So someone could walk in and they're dressed a certain way, they look a certain way, and everyone kind of straightens up and they, hey, how are you doing? Introduce themselves, all of that. But then somebody else can come in and let's say they're homeless and they look like they're homeless. And everyone's kind of looking like, okay, so who's going to talk to this person? But if you're looking at everyone from the perspective of we're all worthy, the same way you treated the first person would be the same way you would treat the second person. Because it's true about both of them.
Right, exactly. So I recently had a friend of mine tell me that she remembers one day when I told her that she was worthy. And at the time when I told her, she didn't feel that way, but that it kind of stayed with her. And she said the minute she decided she was worthy, everything changed. And she said that once she made that decision, she said she made $1 million in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's just amazing. And I often think about, like, I just remember times when, let's say, maybe you had a bill to pay and you was $50 short. And so you're like, how can I come up with this $50? And so then all of a sudden you can come up with $50. But what if you were $500 short? So you're just like, oh, I need $500. But then some kind of way you can come up with $500. And it's like, no matter what the request is, you end up coming up with it. And so I'm like, well, if that's the case, why am I using that only for times of strife? Like if I can come up with $50 or $500 or $5,000 when I need it, then I can come up with it at any time. And so to me, when she was saying about how as soon as she decided on her worth, she made $1 million in 2 months, it's kind of a they're kind of connected in some kind of way. It's like, what do you want? Like, do you believe you're worthy of $5,000? Do you believe you're worthy of $500,000? Do you believe you're worthy of $1 million? Like that.
Yeah, very interesting. And as far, I guess it applies to relationships too, and how you feel about relationships and whether you settle for this or that. because I know for myself, um, when I would listen to other people saying, well, you need this, you need that, I found myself, oh my God, I need to be in a relationship, or I need, I need to find somebody. And once I made that shift, it changed and it became more about, I just really love my space. And whoever I allow into my space needs to, in a sense, make the space as wonderful, add to the wonder. So the settling kind of went away.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yes, because I have a friend, as I was talking about myself, which I could also explain some more about myself. I have a friend who is in a relationship, and she feels that because of her age, that she may not be able to get into another relationship. So even though this relationship is not really working out for her, and let me explain, the guy, he's a lovely person, has a great job, does some pretty wonderful things, but there is something that he's doing, involved in, that's not so great, is completely against my friend's value system. But my friend, because she is older, feels that her ability to maybe find someone else, or that door that might be open to, that door that was open where there were, in her 20s, there were just so many people wanting to date her, but now she's no longer in her 20s and she's moving towards her 50s, that door has closed. So even though this person is doing something that to her feels terrible, and is very unhealthy, I will use that word, she's settling for it and hating it, because she feels her value has been diminished because of age.
Right.
And so therefore she's settling and not really seeing her worth.
And so I would tend to think that whatever she thought her worth was, it was based on something that was kind of external to who she really is. Because when you really start understanding your worth, like, just because you're older, that doesn't change anything. You don't become less worthy over time. And so one of the things that, like I say, and you kind of hit on too, is like the whole thing of redefining who you are and really answering that question for yourself: who am I? And when you realize that you're not getting the right answer or a high quality answer, you need to keep up and who are you, and finding ways to make yourself feel worthy. And a lot of times that may simply involve just practice feeling like you would love to feel. Practice feeling, like whatever you want is at your disposal. Just kind of put your mind there and then let your body follow. And the thing is, like, when a situation like that, where let's say she's 50 and she's thinking, I can't find another mate, well, that's because of the vibration that she's now putting out. But once you start having more worth or more belief in yourself, you'll vibrate higher, and then you'll attract what it is that you want. So the whole thing about settling for less is really changing who you think you are. Really coming up with a description for yourself of who you would want to be, how you would want to feel about yourself, and just start envisioning that person and start feeling those things in your body until you are actually vibrating there. And like I said, a lot of times I do still struggle with worth, and I forget, But as long as I keep it in the forefront of my mind, I just have to remember, like, I'm connected to the source of all that is. I can tap into that power anytime I want. And whenever I bring that back to me, it's like that whole energy rushes back into me. And then I just start vibrating in a space of, I am worthy. So, there's another, I actually got a message yesterday from someone with such a wonderful message because I don't know if you guys know, but I was teaching a class, and one of the students in the class actually contacted me and said that ever since the class, her confidence has just been through the roof. And so she wanted to know, did it seem appropriate for her to quit her job? And so she was saying, the job that I have and the jobs that I have had, they don't excite me. They don't interest me at all. I just work the job just to get paid. And so she was like, but now I want to do what I would love to do. And she says, I'm a writer. I would love to write. I would love to have my works be on film. And she said, I actually applied to HBO. I applied to Netflix. And she's like, she did say, well, I might not get the job. But the whole point is that she was in that space of, now I think it's in the realm of possibilities for me. And, she's on fire. And I just know everything's about to open up for her, just in changing who she thinks she is. And then she's making different decisions as a result.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And so I invite everyone to really change who you think you are. Ask yourself that question, who am I? And if the answer isn't a high quality answer, find ways to upgrade the answer. So I want to thank you for joining us today. Again, this is Marie Hyppolite, and she is our guest co-host today, and she will actually be joining us for a couple of more shows. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you.
And you guys will be back next Wednesday, and make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below and check out my website at arvatmcclain.com. Until next time.